Welcome back to my channel on cooking. Today I've got a really good recipe for pork chops, potatoes, and onions in a Dutch oven. It's a great recipe for car camping or just in the backyard when you want to do something special. So I hope you'll stick with me. As usual, I hope the bird song's not too loud today, but as usual, I'll walk you through the steps and I'll put the entire recipe in the description below. I got this recipe in 2006 from an old friend, Randy Workoven, who put together several different recipes. He won the Scoutmaster Cook-Off 2 years in a row, he says, so you know it's got to be good. I've got a lot of books on Dutch oven recipes, and I've looked at a lot online, and this really is kind of a unique combination. There are a lot of recipes for potatoes and a lot of recipes for pork chops, but this one puts the two together. So let me tell you what I'm going to do, and then I'll show you different steps of it. I've got a 10-inch Dutch oven that I've lined with aluminum foil just to make the cleanup easier. I'm going to use my chimney to start, I don't know, about 30 or 35 briquettes. And then I'm going to take a pound of bacon, cut it into 1-inch pieces, and brown it and remove it. Then I'm going to take my pork chops and brown them. You're not trying to cook them all the way through because they're going to get cooked a lot later on. So brown my pork chops, and then I'm going to start making layers of potatoes, onions, garlic, parsley, salt and pepper, and bacon. And then another layer, and another layer, until I almost fill up the oven. Then I'm going to pour 1 can of cream of mushroom soup and probably, I don't know, 1/4 of a can of water on top of that. I don't know how many briquettes it's going to take to fry the bacon and brown the pork chops, so I'm just going to do that on the wing. However, once I get everything loaded into the Dutch oven, I'm going to use the basic cooking method for 350 degrees. It's a chart you can find in books or online that says for a 10-inch oven and 350 degrees, I need 13 briquettes on top and 7 on the bottom. Because I'm doing meat and potatoes, I don't think it's as crucial as doing something like eggs or bread, but just the same, I'm going to rotate the entire oven about 1/4 of a turn every 15 minutes, and then rotate the top the opposite way, so just so everything gets good even heat. So let me get started, and I'll show you different steps as we go along. Okay, I'm still cooking the bacon, and I had a couple of thoughts that I wanted to share with you. Normally I use a 12-inch oven that's cast aluminum, so I don't use aluminum foil because I'm not worried about cleanup. I think the aluminum foil and the smaller oven have really slowed me down on this. I did use a whole pound of bacon. A half would have done just fine, but really, have you ever had too much bacon in a dish? But some of my thoughts were, I wanted to see how long this would take if you were car camping. But if you're doing this at home, you know, I'm 50 minutes into this, and it's probably going to take an hour. I could have fried strips of bacon and crumbled them up in a much shorter time. And really, you could do the same for browning the chops. But I'm going to go ahead and do it all over the charcoal just to see how long it takes. But just some food for thought, and I'll be back. Okay, I've got my chops browned, and I'm ready to start building the layers, but I had a few more thoughts for you. Fire management is a big part of Dutch oven cooking, and it's never as simple as the books talk about. Just put 7 under and 13 over and don't worry about it. So what I've done is I started my charcoal using a chimney starter, but as soon as it was ready, I dumped it out into a fire pit behind me, and I keep adding new briquettes to the pile, and that way I've got a lot of different briquettes that are at different stages of burning. So that really helps me kind of control what happens here. So now I'm just going to build layers. So I'll start with my pork, and then potatoes. And Randy's recipe, unlike some other ones, said use equal amounts of potatoes and onions. I sliced these a little while ago and they've kind of browned up on me. So potatoes, onions, bacon, and then spice-wise, I'm using Dalmatian rub, which I've talked about in other videos. It's coarse ground salt and pepper. I happen to make this brand and sell it on Amazon, so it's in another video if you want to take a look. But the coarse ground salt and pepper just really makes a difference. And I'm going to do this for each layer. Oops. I don't have as much parsley as I would like, but we'll just make do. And then some garlic. And I realize that fresh garlic would be better, but you know how it is sometimes. So I'm just going to keep building this up until I almost fill the oven. I want to leave room for the lid. I'm going to pour a can of mushroom soup over it and about 1/4 of a can of water. And then I'm going to rebuild my fire using that 350 rule, which for this size oven is 7 briquettes on the bottom and 13 on the top. So let me get all that done and I'll be back. Here's what it looks like. I've got 7 underneath and 13 on top, and I've got more reserves behind me if I need them. If memory serves me, I think this is going to take about 30 minutes. Randy suggested not stirring until everything was boiling, so I'm going to stick with that, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's ready. I wanted to cook these until the potatoes just fell apart, and it's taken me about 50 minutes. So like I said, I don't use this small cast iron one as much as I use my bigger aluminum one, and they really cook differently. So once again, you know, recipes are just suggestions and guidelines. You're just going to have to figure it out on your own because everything's different. So the last step on this is I'm going to cover this with shredded cheese, and I'm going to cook it 5 more minutes. And then it is done. It smells wonderful. So that's it. I'll be back. Here's the end product, and it doesn't look a whole lot different than it did 5 minutes ago. So with that, I'm going to close. My last thought for you is Dutch oven cooking is a lot of fun. It's delicious, but the timing and the fire management can be a bit tricky. And the only way you're going to learn is just to practice. And after my experience today, I'm going to practice more with this particular oven because I obviously don't know it as well as my other one. So that's it. If you made it this far, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. If you have any suggestions or comments, please leave them, you know, in the comments section. It's really helpful for me and for other people watching these videos. If you have an addition like, you know, mushrooms or something would be good in there, or just a different way of preparing it, you know, please let me know. I'd appreciate it. So that's it. Thank you very much, and take care.